Hello folkses. So once again, it's been a minute since I've tuned in. So I just wanted to touch base with you and maybe share some wisdom, some insights as to what I am moving through, which I also see reflected out into the collective. And so as such that I see it reflected out into the collective, I see some folks a little bit floundering, a little bit like fish out of water, some confusion as to why their body feels the way that it feels, or feeling a bit lost or untethered, or very still, like nothing is really happening, but yet it feels like there's been a tremendous shift and that everything is happening, yet it feels like nothing is happening. And that's a very disorienting kind of a feel. So I don't know, maybe some of you are feeling this way. Just take everything as it resonates. If it doesn't resonate, then just chuck it in the bucket for someone else. But and so I share my experiences and my guidance that I've been receiving as my intuition is getting stronger and stronger, and I am learning to take things to the body a lot more. I've been grounding quite a bit, and so you see, as usual, I'm here in the forest where I went through a series of fasting where I would do 3 days fast, 2 days off the fast, eating, but eating light and listening to what my body wants and needs, and not eating for pleasure, but just eating when I genuinely feel hungry, which I would have thought that after 3 days of fasting that I would be famished and I would want everything, but eating in this new way of going to the store and allowing my body or my soul to guide me to what feels good, or like, and I do a visualization with this as well. So I visualize eating these things, and I visualize asking my body, how does it feel when I eat this fruit or when I eat this vegetable, versus how would I feel if I ate this donut now? After fasting for 3 days, there was an energetic shift, and it seemed like there was a cellular shift within my body as well, and that my body now has different needs. And so very much like when we shift up to another level of consciousness and we open up new gates of consciousness and become a little bit more of our muchness, we begin to become a bit more light and filled with light, and our body has different requirements. It's kind of almost like we got a new transmission, and this transmission no longer requires a certain kind of fuel. We now need a different fuel for optimum performance. So right now, of course, it's summer here where I'm at, and in the summer we tend to not want, I tend to not want to eat a whole lot because it makes me feel heavy and lethargic, and I do tend to want to eat lighter foods, more raw foods, which are actually more filled with chi, life force from Gaia, from Mother Earth. And so what I've been doing is eating a mixture of raw vegetables with a plant-based protein in the form of like a falafel burger cooked in the air fryer. And so that way it keeps its lightness, and I put that on there. That way I still have that, my mind is satisfied because I still have something hot on my plate, but I have that wonderful crunch and the goodness of the raw And the raw just seems like it makes my cells feel alive and vibrant, and it feels a little bit more like then my body is working for me and not against me, or it's working with me and not against me. So there's been shifts in diet, shifts in energy level, and so even though I've been eating that healthy diet, there have been moments of extreme exhaustion, and I do not in any way attribute that to these new eating, this new diet that I'm ingesting. So this brings me to health and wellness, and again a bit more on tapping into your body and really listening to your body. And your body will tell you what it needs. It'll also tell you that if you're tired from some sort of, like maybe you need more fuel. Sometimes I feel like I need more protein, and sometimes I feel as though that protein needs to be a fleshy protein, like chicken or something like that. And then I honor it, and then I feel recharged. But there are also moments when I can tell that it is due to an energetic shift in which this whole computer mainframe needs to just be shut down to receive any upgrades and downloads that are coming through, as in when we become a bit more of a light body and become less dense as such, because this new human that's coming through is because, well, let's put it this way, okay? So the earth is experiencing a lot of changes and restructuring, which can be seen as evidence through the volcano eruptions, through the earthquakes, through storms as such that are ramping up around the planet. Fires, Mother Nature and Earth are working hand to hand together, as in they're shifting. And we're shifting from the old Earth into what's called the new Earth. The new Earth is a new paradigm, so it's a whole total paradigm shift in which we are becoming less 3D, as in third dimension, and ascending up through fourth dimension consciousness and up into fifth dimension consciousness. And that then involves a shift within us. Well, sometimes we have to turn the computer off in order to receive this shift. So the body, very much like trees in the forest, when trees in the forest are ill or diseased, that diseased tree will send a signal down into the earth to the mother tree, and the mother tree will then send a signal out into the entire forest, and then precautionary measures will take place. And so very much like a tree, our body sends us a signal basically to our whole cellular makeup, which is our forest, saying, hey, we need to power down now, we have a low battery, and eating more food, putting more fuel in is not the way to go. Doing more things is only going to lead to burnout. It's time for a restful period, and in this restful period, more will be accomplished, more will be gained than if you continue pushing forward and basically running your vehicle into the ground. And so this requires a whole lot of rest. This would be why you haven't seen me for a little while, because this would be why you haven't seen me for a little while, because I have been in this restful state and really have not had the energy to do much of anything. Everything has been restructuring, from the way that I view reality, from the way that I call in reality, from to my living situation is also restructuring and exciting and new dynamic ways of living. So you're going to want to stay tuned, because I'm about to go on some crazy adventures of where I don't really know. I know one place, but I'm being called to live a bit more mobile. And so I don't even know where I'll be from one moment to the next, which is exciting and a bit, has a little bit of anxiety also, but I lean now more into my even more strengthened faith muscle, and I recognize that all is going to be well. And so yeah, you're going to want to stay tuned to see where the white raven flies to next. But for now, we're talking about the restful state, and I just know from, again, tapping into the body and tapping into what the body needs and getting crystal clear. And also what this fasting has helped me do is to be able to be a bit more still in the body, and still in mind, body, spirit, the whole bit. And when I'm in this state of being, it's easier for me to receive the wisdom, the guidance, the downloads. And as such, when I get those downloads and the information, I can trust the intuition, because I know it's not all junked up with heavy fatty food being processed, and I know it's not based off of fears. In fact, these are moments that I would sit and ask myself, like if I have any uncertainty at all, I just sit and I ask myself, if this uncertainty is my intuition telling me that this is maybe not an aligned choice, or is this uncertainty based out of fear? And if it is based out of fear, then I then go a little deeper and ask, okay, let's sit with this and figure out, what is the root? What is the fear? And I allow myself to know, since I now have this connection to my body and to myself and my whole emotional layer, my emotional body, I then can say, okay, all right, let's regroup and let's come back to center and know that you are safe and you are loved and all is well. I've got you. Now let's get to the bottom of this fear, and then you just kind of like talk yourself through it. You reverse engineer it and release all the ties and say, and just keep reassuring yourself that all is well. Now, if you're going through an extreme trauma, this will require probably a lot more, but I personally right now am just moving through a situation to where I'm not really certain where I'm going to be living. And this is why I'm going to be a bit more mobile. And this is why I need to lean on faith and fully trust in my body and in my intuition and walk with that. Walk with that deep inner knowing, fully connected with my compass, following my North Star. Sometimes it may seem batshit crazy, but that's okay, because I'm no longer wanting to stay in the status quo. That's not for me to live there in that space. And if that's where you want to be and you're comfortable there, there's absolutely no judgment. That's a great place to be. And but in this stepping forward into faith, these are the processes that I've been moving through, is like just the change in the diet, the change in the living environment, the change in the way of living, of no longer living right now in a actual stable one dwelling environment, and to know that that's going to be great because it's going to bring so many more opportunities to meet new people, to be able to shine my light in different areas of the world even. And I can just see so many more doors opening. And so everything is also a perspective shift, and everything is mind. And so if you can shift your perspective to a more positive way of looking at it, I believe I've talked about walking the beauty path and finding the beauty in every situation and seeing opportunity in just about everything. Not to be an opportunist necessarily, but just to see that there is opportunity for growth and advancement, or opportunity to help somebody else, which is usually my driving force of, this is an opportunity for me to shine my light in a different area, possibly on a weekly basis, possibly on a monthly basis, who knows for how long. But it's a complete walk of faith. And to walk with this kind of faith, one truly does have to be in tune with the body and also with the spirit. And so that's what I've got for you. And when you trust your intuition, that's a really big key part of it also, is that you have to trust your intuition. And your intuition will not really steer you wrong. It might steer you down some ways that your brain might have said, oh, there was a faster way to do that. But the intuition is taking you the way that you need to go in order for you to get the most out of the experience, and for all you know, maybe save you in the long run. And so I feel like that's what I have for you in this moment. I guess if we were to tie a pretty little bow around it, it would be, there's a lot of us in this moment that are feeling drained and uncertain. A lot of us are excited about this uncertainty. Some of us can even see the new direction ahead, whereas some of us, all we can see is the road behind us, and the road in front of us is really foggy, or the path just keeps shifting. Like, you think you have a certainty and you got a beat on the direction, but you start moving in that direction, all of a sudden the road is obscured, or there's a roadblock, and it forces you down another way, another path. And that's fine. That's fine. In fact, I'll share this quick little story with you. Yesterday I was going to do a sound bath for the summer solstice. And I was going to do this at this one particular place, a beautiful oriental garden and pagoda in Norfolk, Virginia. It was all set. Many, many people were scheduled to come, and I didn't have their information, but they had let me know that they were coming in some way, shape, or form. They had let me know. And so come the day of the event, I go to the event space, and there are signs saying that the pagoda is closed for a private event. And it's not my private event. It is a bigger event, like maybe some sort of wedding reception or something on a grand scale. And all entrances were blocked. I walked around the whole perimeter of the gardens, and there was not a sneaky way that I could sneak in there and offer this sound bath to people. I had thought that maybe I was going to like sneak people over the wall and have the sound bath. So my mind was racing. And I called a friend, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Yeah, so many people are coming. And so I called this friend, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to cancel the event. There's no place for me to have this. Plus, there also was happening that day the Pride Festival right down the street. And they had DJs, and they had performers and loudspeakers, and there was all of this bass music going on, and it was oons, 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 oons. It was a big party, and everyone in their joy. And yet I was like, this is not conducive to a sound bath meditation. We need Zen, we need peace, we need harmony, balance, mind, body, spirit. And so I was like, oh my God, my mind was just racing. So I began still walking the perimeter, and I was again still tuning into my intuition, bringing forth into me the calm of clear-mindedness and centeredness. And as I walked, I found this adorable little park that was kind of like a courtyard, and that ended up being the space. Well, the space ended up being perfect. In fact, it was like the space that it was supposed to be in. It was surrounded in trees, so it was called we were in a nematon, that is a sacred space in which it's usually in a circle of stones or a circle of trees. And in the olden day, like with the Druids, you would meet within the nematon for sacred ceremonies or for gatherings and festivities to celebrate and honor different times of the year, different lunar cycles, astrological events, etc. And as such, we were celebrating the summer solstice and the beauty and the light that shines within us. And so it couldn't have been more perfect. And there were a couple of passersby that hung out, and also we were surrounded by apartment buildings, so who knows who else might have been really in attendance and receiving these gifts. And so my friends had arrived, and I just asked them to kindly, look on Facebook and see who had expressed an interest in the event and just reach out. And everybody found it perfect. Everything went off without a hitch, and it was absolutely fantastic. And so this is a perfect example of how once you really get clear and you can bring yourself out of this frantic situation. I mean, it ended up being a very prosperous evening for me, and also it was, I think, probably the best place. The music from the Pride Festival dissipated. The wind picked up through the trees. Now in the pagoda, we would not have been surrounded by trees, and we would not have been in a nematon of a sacred space. And so I had released the story and the idea of how it was supposed to be, trusted in my higher self to, go around this way, turn left here, go across the street, and now look. And there was this space. And, your soul knows. Your soul knows which way to go, what to do. All you have to do is really listen and stop resisting and just flow. And so with that, I will leave you, my friends. If you like this content, you find value in it, please, please, please take just less than a second and mash the little thumb down there. It really does help to circulate this wisdom, to share this insight with someone who may find themselves to be in need. And if you feel so inclined, also maybe you can think of somebody in particular that might enjoy this content, and you can just mash the share button and share that on over with them, or even word of mouth works also. It's all energy and it's all appreciated, and I'm so very grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I'm wishing you well, and I send you so much love.